today we are starting with finding the right topic. If you've been with us the last couple sessions and you've had the pleasure of working with Sonia, and she's going to be leading us today, I'm just going to go over a few things just to make sure reminders and make sure everybody has what they need as we get started. So like I said, we are one of 6 power connectors working on this project and providing resources to people that are working with the Department of Energy on funding. There's different options that come up through the year, but this is our SBIR STTR program. And we're a part of a larger network that has different resources throughout our country and region. And if you're interested in that, you can find that network on AmericanMadeChallenges.org. We are specifically contracted to help with topics 15, 16, and 18, but that doesn't mean that we can't help or be a resource if you're applying for another topic. This is just specifically what we've been asked to support. So if you have any, these are the topics that we'll be specifically talking about today. But again, if you are just needing some information or trying to find your way with another topic, we wouldn't turn you away. We're here to help in any way you might need. If you go onto the DOE website, you will find the full deadlines, topics, webinars. They are there now, so you can find those webinars that go specifically over each topic. But this also gives you a timeline, and this is where you will find the FOA once it is released on the 13th. And this is just a quick overview of the timeline of what you can expect. With LOIs being due on January 3rd and the full application being due on the 22nd. This is just kind of a quick summary of the things that UACI will be offering. As you can see, we are now on to finding the right topics, but we have 3 other application support webinars that we'll be hosting. Writing your proposal on December 16th, evaluation criteria on the 6th, legal process and data rights on the 13th. If you do get a responsive LOI, we'll also be inviting you to join commercialization workshops that will be starting in January and going through February. And then finally, we'll be offering office hours to talk about, your specific application and answer questions that are specific to your application. And those will happen throughout February. And before I introduce Sonia, I wanted to mention after I'm done presenting and I turn it over to Sonia, I'm going to be putting a link in the chat to collect some information from you. This is not specific to your application or your LOI. This is just information that we collect to help us identify who's attending workshops, who's reaching out for support. But if you could fill out the form, it would be super helpful for us to kind of keep in contact with you and be able to check in on you and just kind of get an idea of who is looking for funding support. So after this is over, I will have that link in the chat. So Sonia is with us today, and she is founder and president of SPOT, but she is also a UACI subject matter expert, and she works specifically on grants, contracts with a specialty in SBIR, STTRs. She has been a great resource to the companies we've worked with, as well as working on this program for the last couple of years. But outside of that, she's co-founded several companies. She has over 30 years of experience, and specifically experience in SBIR and STTR programs. So she's a great resource to you, and I'm glad that she's able to be here with us and help with this. So I'll turn it over to you, Sonia, and I will exit mine so that you can
share my screen.
Share your screen.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let me make sure I select the right one. You probably right now are seeing yourselves. So let me start our presentation. And display settings, swap. So you should be seeing my, my first slide, right? So good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about finding topics, specifically focusing on the structure of what the topics on the DOE solicitation looks like. But at the end of the presentation, we'll go through a little bit interactive exercise to find some topics with you. Amanda did a great job talking about me, so I won't touch on this. But the purpose of today is just very briefly, I'll touch again on what the program is, and then do a deep dive into the topics and go through some exercises on finding opportunities. One thing I want to mention is I'm not an expert on the topic areas that we'll be showing you. So if you have any technical questions or program questions or logistics questions about the DOE and these topics, you should contact DOE and the program managers listed. And absolutely, we're here to help you. So if you have additional questions, we'll try to help you as much as we can. So that's a disclaimer. The other thing that I want to let you know is the funding opportunity announcement will come out next week. So make sure that you review it because things might change. And so do the topics. Sometimes they add or change some things about them. Sometimes they even delete them. So always be monitoring what the website is doing. And if there are listservs, subscribe to them so that you can get any updates. So very briefly, the SBIR program has been going on since 1982. It's currently over a $3.5 billion non-dilutive funding opportunity for the small businesses. And they like to fund early stage high risk innovation areas. And the goals are to stimulate the economy by helping grow these small businesses where there's less than 500 employees. And if possible, they're trying to also help the socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. And they do have to be, in that case, either 51% owned by women or another socially disadvantaged company. And the idea is to increase the investment in the private sector and help these small businesses commercialize. Some basics, there's two forms of the SBIR STTR program. The SBIR, it does not require for you to partner with a nonprofit research institution. And that's the biggest difference with the STTR, which is small business technology transfer. There is a requirement to partner with a research institution. And if you want to know which are eligible institutions, I have listed a list there on the bottom to look at which are federally funded research development centers. In the case of DOE, an example would be like a national laboratory. And sometimes it's encouraged. Small businesses are encouraged to partner with the national laboratory. There's also differences between grants and contracts. So DOE will be a grant agency for the case of the SBIR or STTR. And so the major differences is, in general, the grant doesn't tell you much specifics about what your end product is. In some cases, the granting agency is not going to be your customer. And the case of the contracts, like for instance, a DOD, they're very specific on what are the requirements and the objectives of each of these topics. And you're required to deliver something to the contracting agency. Here's a list of the different agencies and whether they do contracts or grants. The NIH, or the Human Health Services, they do both granting and contracting for the SBIR STTR program. And then so does the Department of Education. This just outlines a little bit more of what I just discussed. So just the slides will be made available. So if you want to go through more specifics, here's more information. On this slide, I have the breakdown of the major SBIR STTR agencies broken down by the budget. And as you can see, the DOE is currently the third largest one, offering $360 million worth of SBIR and STTR funds. The DOD is, at least for as long as I've known, the biggest contracting agency. Amanda already talked about this. The letter of intent are going to be due in January 3rd. We had a webinar on that a couple of days ago, so make sure that you have access to the slides and the presentation. I think that she's already shared that with you. And if you have questions, please do reach out. If you want us to review your LOI, we will not redline it, but I will review it for you and give you general feedback on what I think your LOI is missing or needs improvement on. And then the most important is your applications are due on February 22nd. And the next topic of discussion or area will be a webinar on how to write proposals for the DOE. So make sure that you sign up for that one. And I believe Amanda mentioned it was on the 16th. In general, this is the application process. The topics come out. The FOA will be coming out, or the funding opportunity announcement next week. And then the applications are due on the 22nd of February. There's going to be a review process. If they want to give you an award, they'll say you've been recommended for award, and they're going to go through a negotiation, which they're doing their due diligence, and they will verify that your quotes are accurate, that your subcontractors are still there, your PI or principal investigator, and so on and so forth. Any specific question that maybe during the review process came up, they're going to ask you to clarify. So don't be afraid there. Usually it's a pretty straightforward process, but when they ask you something, make sure that you respond to it right away so that you don't lose the opportunity. And then, you know, you get your budget, you get your money, and you proceed to executing your project. And at one point along that, you're going to be able to apply for your phase 2 proposal. I believe they're going to be due on February or no, April 19th of next year will be the phase 2s for the previous release. So let's get going, getting closer to describing what the topics look like. And in the case of this release 2, what I've done here is we're going to be focusing on the energy efficiency and renewable energy today, but I put an asterisk on all those program offices for the current solicitation that have topics for. But specifically for today, this is the area we're going to be focusing on, and even more specific, solar and water topics. And the topics for this program office start at topic 7, and they go through topic 20. And I believe we're going to be looking at topics 15, 16, and 18. If I'm wrong with those numbers, I'll soon find out. So the topic solicitation is out, and it has the first page. You'll notice that it has the date and the version. That's why you have to always keep on looking, because they might add, remove, or change topics slightly. And here are the program offices listed. And on this file that's provided by the DOE, you're going to see all the topics. They're going to be described. Who are the DOE program managers? In some case, they'll just give you the SBIR DOE email address. But if you watch the webinar, most likely the right person presented on that topic. So I strongly advise you, if you haven't done so yet, go back and review the webinar presented on the topics, because today I will not be discussing the content of the topics. I'm not a subject matter expert on any of those topics, but I will show you the structure and what they look like. And then we could go and do some interactive keyword searches or answer some questions for you. And so topic basics, they're created by a DOE program manager. And usually it's related to the mission and the research and development areas that the DOE is interested in, right? And the topics are organized by the DOE program office, and you can see that if you go to the solicitation, and we'll look at it briefly during today. You'll see how the topics are organized by program office, and then within each, you're going to see who's listed. And make sure after you watch the webinar, if you still have questions, reach out to those program managers to clarify any question you might have. And they're going to be mission focused, like I said. There's going to be an open communication, so take advantage of that time to ask your questions and clarify, and watch the webinar. And we already know that you're going to be having to submit a letter of intent by January 3rd. And let me remind you, if you don't submit that letter of intent, you cannot submit a proposal. So please take that seriously and spend some time doing it. It's not a large letter, but it does have to specify what you're going to be submitting, talk about your company and any subcontractor you might have. And I strongly also recommend, and we'll look at what this means, is the topics have lists of references. So you need to explore each of these references, make sure that you've read them and that you understand why the program manager has listed those references. Okay, so here's a topic example. And the only reason I use this is because it fit in one page. Because normally they're not this small and they don't fit in one page, but it shows what I want to talk about. So there's going to be the topic title, and there's going to be subtopics listed by A, B, C, D. Usually the other is the last one, and the other is if you don't fit in any of the other letters, the other is usually a good bucket or basket to gather any possible technology that's still a good fit but wasn't listed there. So here's another reason why it's so important to, contact your program manager listed and find out if you fit under that category. And if you do, make sure that you create a letter of intent that describes that so that it's not rejected. The other important thing here to notice is that each of these topics is going to have how much is your maximum phase 1 award and how much will be the maximum phase 2 award. And it's going to tell you if it will take either SBIR or STTR or both. This case example says only SBIRs. Okay, so don't submit an STTR for this topic if it only says SBIR. So this will be the header. Then it's going to have a description. The other thing that I also encourage you is read the description of the program office, because that description, along with this description under the topic, is going to be important for you to understand if there's a fit. Because remember what I said before, there is a strong focus on the mission of each of these program agencies. And when you write your proposal, you have to tell a story that fits that mission, okay? So there's gonna be a summary, this is the summary, the subtopics, in this case it has 2, and there's gonna be a program manager listed. And here are the references. And the references are important because it's gonna give you several important things. Depends on, of course, the program manager, but in my experience, I like to see possibly if it lists competitive technologies, it will list past awards or past information that's important as it relates to the mission and objectives of the program office and the topics. And it might give you background information that you should know before you write your proposal. So that way you don't get caught on not being, knowledgeable of all the areas this program manager thought that was important for you to share. So don't underestimate the references. They have really very important information. Okay, The other important thing about topics are technology transfer opportunities. And these are listed on the topics document as well. And sometimes the national laboratories or some DOE partners or DOE themselves have done their own research, and they have the opportunity to license that technology to a small business. So if you have the capabilities to propose something along these technology transfer and or inventions the DOE has, this is another way for you to propose a solution or a product around their innovation. So do take a look at this, and you might be able, there might be a good fit, but again, contact the program office or the program manager to see if there is a good fit. Okay, so these topics 15 and 16 are related to the solar. Well, let me stop here. Are there any questions? I'm not monitoring the chat. Doesn't look like.
Looks good, Sonia. We haven't had any questions so far, but if anyone does have any questions while Sonia's speaking, feel free to put them in the chat.
Yeah, and hopefully I'm not going too fast. How are we doing with time, Amanda? Are we good with time?
Yes, we're good with time. It's 9:24, so you still
cool.
have a great amount of time. And Brian just said you're not going too fast, so just
okay.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes I just go so fast and then I end up too early. Okay. So topics 15 and 16 are focusing on solar energy, which is what we're supposed to be focusing on today. And these particular topics, like I said, please listen to the webinar and the description. Quite frankly, I did, and they're very high level summaries of what they are. So then again, you're gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna remind you once again, contact the program manager if you still have questions. But these, what I wanted to outline here is a little bit of a high level summary of what these topics are focusing on. So if you have photovoltaic technologies or solar thermal power, systems integration, manufacturing competitive. I quite frankly didn't get what soft cost means, but you guys being the expert probably understand what soft cost is, but that was another area of interest. And then specifically, they were looking for building materials, agricultural focus, maybe some floating technologies that generate energy, transportation, recycling of photovoltaics, and energy storage. So again, I've summarized what I gathered when I read these topics and when I heard the webinar. And I summarized it for you on this slide. And they're looking for technologies that are going to improve affordability, reliability, and give domestic benefit. By domestic, meaning the US, not benefiting other countries. And then both these topics are open for SBIR and STTR, okay? And the other thing to note is, coincidentally and interestingly, these topics are also jointly supported with topic 7. And so specifically for topic 7B and 7D. So please read that and see if there's some synergy. And then they also offer the technology transfer opportunities for 15G and 15H. All right, so topic 16 actually is STTR only, topic 15 does both. Sorry about that. And then this is a summary from the DOE themselves, from the slides I borrowed from them. And here's your header, where it is saying topic 15 offers SBIR and STTR. And these are the maximum amounts for phase 1 and phase 2. And here are similar to what I did above. They're summarizing the areas and the 2 topics that offer technology transfer. So here they're looking for a hierarchical distributed voltage regulation and network autonomous grids. And the other one is novel solar collector tracking error direction. And the way that I've listed here, they've listed, these are the subtopics. They did not have an other category. So you would have to have a very strong synergy or have a technology that's very strongly related to these 6 areas or fit into the technology transfer. And here's an example of where they're not giving you the name or an email address of a program manager. But if you listen to the webinar, make sure you make a note of who presented and try to see if you can find their email address or address it when you send an email to this email here, address it to the presenter or presenters of this topic with your question. And similarly with topic 16, they didn't list the program manager. And this one is an STTR only. And sometimes when they don't have a program manager listed, it means they have not assigned a program manager yet, but these are technology areas of interest to that program office. So some of the folks that talked about it are their subject matter experts in those areas. So topic 18 will focus on water power technologies, and they're specifically looking for marine energy and hydropower, how to improve the performance, lower the cost, and support the growing demand for energy, right? And again, this one had a joint topic with topic number 7, which is the Energy Renewable Office. And another joint topic with 11 for water and wind technology. So make sure you look and see what the relationship between topic 18 and 7 and 11 is. Topic 18, again, it does both the SBIR, STTR, and it has 4 subtopics and no other. And here, Ramesh Dam is the one who's been assigned as the program manager for topic 18. And these are the areas where they're looking for. And you'll see that they're looking, there's a lot of focus on hydropower and marine energy. Okay, I summarized briefly the joint topic 7 and my interpretation of the relationship in the with 15 and 18 and 16 is subtopics B and D. So make sure that you review and that that I'm correct in that assumption. And here are the program managers assigned for each of these subtopics. So I like the way they did this because you now have a person, right? And here's topic 11. You have only one subtopic, and coincidentally, it's going to be Ramesh as well. Okay, another thing that I think I saw it on topics 15 and 16, they mentioned and summarized the technical and business assistance, the TABA. They went in quite into it in quite detail. I've summarized it very easily. DOE will give you $6,500 on a phase 1 and up to $50,000 on a phase 2 for you to subcontract a vendor that will help you with technical and business assistance. And some of the services could be for market research, for IP strategies, marketing collateral, helping you with your website. There's a whole bunch of things that vendors that specialize in TABA can do for you. And if you have questions or are interested in adding a TABA vendor, please contact me because that's one of the key things I do is help my customers with commercialization strategies. And then what happens is I will write you a letter of support indicating what we have agreed to do for each of the amounts. Okay. And so, any questions so far?
There has not been any questions, Sonia.
No questions. Okay, so here I'm going to go a little bit into how to go about finding topics. And this will go beyond just DOE, right? Because DOE, you kind of are limited by the area you're working on, and it's a lot easier, but we would be able to go into the current solicitation and look at topics if that's what you want. But it's mostly all about the keywords you use to find opportunities. And finding opportunities depends on how you list and Google these keywords or the website you go into to look for past or current opportunities. And do you use quotes, no quotes? Are there synonyms that you could use? So I think for me, it's very intuitive, and I find in the most cases very simple to put together a list of keywords and find stuff, but I've been doing this for a long time. And sometimes people ask me, how do you find things? It's like, I just do. So if you have questions and you can't find something, maybe there really isn't something out there, but maybe there is just how you're putting together your searches. Places to search, SBIR.gov. They're dedicated to SBIR and STTR. And you're going to find what has been funded and what is currently being funded or open solicitation. One word of caution with SBIR.gov is sometimes it's behind. So you might not find some awards from like competitors or from key companies that you'd like to find information. They might be behind a year and a half. It varies. But the other caution here is there's tons of information, tons. So you could get lost in finding what has been awarded in the past. So look at what you find. You can download it into spreadsheets, and you can also review the abstracts. Remember, abstracts become public. So when you create and submit your proposals and you do an abstract, make sure that there's nothing proprietary there. Use Google searches. You could go to the agencies. You could look at open solicitations for the different agencies and things that are going on. Some can be in the sam.gov. We've talked about in registrations in a past webinar, grants.gov, DOD, and then of course, talking to program managers or points of contact to find out, have you funded something? What have you funded? Who have you funded? Are you interested in my technology? So, and that's a whole other thing we could discuss another time, but I like to contact these folks and work with them in the creation of new topics. So then opportunities come made out for you. But like I said, that's another discussion. So here are the links for some of the major places to look for. So SBIR.gov is in general. Here is the DOD site, the DOE site, the NSF site, and NIH. And I put in the largest ones just because in general, if there's something funded that's similar to what you're doing, these are the places I would look. In addition to doing a Google search with the right keywords and then put SBIR or the agency name. So, okay. So far, and after I do the summary, we could go and do some examples. If anybody's interested, we could look at some of what you're doing and do it interactively. So we know about the SBIR, STTR. we know the topic in DOE topics that are of interest that we've been focused on talking through the American Challenge. And we know some basic searching topic strategy. Start early. You're going to spend a lot of time, do all your registrations, read the solicitation, watch the DOE videos, contact the program manager, and we're going to have the next webinar will be on proposals and evaluation criteria and legal stuff. So, any questions?
No questions so far.
No questions.
Welcome to chime in now if you have a question.
So here, does anybody, let me see, how do I get out of this guy? All right, so am I still sharing?
Yes, you're still sharing. We can see your screen.
Let's see, what do I want? That one. Can you see this screen? We're on the SBIR.gov.
The website,
All right, anybody want to get adventurous and do some keyword searches?
If you would like to, use your innovation to do a keyword search, you can just take yourself off mute and jump in.
Hi, Sonia. This is Nahum Sadan with Good Edge Networks.
Hi.
Hi. I listened to some of your previous presentations, so always learn from the wealth of information that you're providing to us, and I appreciate that. So we are in the DER integration space, so maybe we can start by searching the keyword DER integration.
DER like that?
Yes, space integration.
Okay, notice I'm not doing any, no quotes. So interesting. All right, so there's this one, only 40 results, so that's not too bad. And you can see the SBC means small business concern. So here you would have, they're doing a phase 2 decentralized control and optimization platform for advanced microgrids. And they're specifically talking about distributed energy resources. So you could have also searched distributed energy sources with quotes. But here we kind of got lucky because I was expecting something like maybe more, but this is good. So the next thing you might want to do is you can download, and you can download it to a spreadsheet, and it will have all the information on these. You gotta say you're not a robot. You submit.
So this is a company that was already been awarded phase 1, and they're now
Correct.
Working on phase 2.
Yeah, and so here it summarized the 40 that it found, and you will see the company, the award, the agency, the branch, phase 1 or phase 2. This is very valuable information, guys. So don't underestimate the power of knowing this. This is similar to also making sure that you review those references. You're doing your homework, making sure that you review what has been awarded so that you don't do something that's similar that a reviewer will catch and say, oh, that's already been done, or that you know that you have what your competitive advantage is for, over what has been awarded. So that's one. We could go and search for the same thing. For instance, let's go to the, which one should we go to? To the DOD. This is the DOD side. I'm curious, and I think Ed has a question. Ed, do you have a question?
Ed has his hand raised. If you'd like to jump in, Ed, you're welcome to.
No?
Ed, oh, Ed, did you still have a question?
Yeah, so I'm searching on the DOD site, and without quotes or with quotes, there isn't anything that talks about DER.
This is Ed Weinberg. I have a question.
Yes, Ed.
Yes, sorry for that delay. Actually, I'm calling from the road. So I had a question on the topic 7 with the community involvement. I guess it's across the board, general question, whether it's, the solar topics or let's say the BTO topics. From a budget consideration, how is that worked out in terms of the community involvement? Would that budget money take away from the actual technology development, since the ceilings seem to be the same whether you do 7 or let's say 16?
Yeah, so yeah, I noticed when I was listening to this topic that what is important about topic 7 is that they have the community-driven solutions. So you do have, that's a requirement. If you read the solicitation, you have to involve an entity, or somehow your solution has to improve something regarding the community. And there might be the possibility to engage this entity or company or community. You might have to set aside some additional from the 200,000 for subcontracting so it could become a budgetary thing, or depends on who you're partnering with or who you're going to be testing your solution on. There might not be the need to give them money. So it just depends who you're partnering with to demonstrate that this technology has a positive impact on the community.
All right, so what you're saying is that the community could be named and the technology benefit to the community described, but the community or the entity, municipality, whatever it's called, doesn't necessarily have to contribute budget money?
I did not see. I have not. I'd have to go back and read the solicitation again or the topic. But in general, SBIRs don't require any matching funding or money to be put in from other entities. But if they do, you should mention that, because it could be, that they're more engaged. So, I mean, we could take it probably offline and see what you're thinking about before I do more recommendation. But in general, you'll require a letter of support of interest from this community entity that you're going to be benefiting, that says, we're interested in this technology. If we use this, it's going to better us in XYZ. And for the purposes of this phase 1 SBIR, we're willing to work with them or provide these resources. It just depends on how you want to engage them.
Got it. All right. So, and that's an LOI from this community entity that goes with the full application, as opposed to the LOI that the applicant submits for the pre-screening.
That's correct. But you still on your LOI would have to mention how you fit into this topic and who you're going to be working.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Understandable. Okay. Thank you for the info.
Yeah. And if you have more questions, please do send me an email and we can discuss in further detail as to how best to engage the community you're thinking about for this topic, because I found this topic quite interesting. And
it certainly is new and different.
I had not seen that before. And that's why I underlined community-driven solutions.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah, and you will be qualified if you don't involve someone and show their interest.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okie dokie. So I did just a quick search here, showing for the DR information, and that did not show any for DOD, for instance. But then I'm curious if I do just the whole thing here, my suspicion is it won't show up either because DER should have been. So no, but you could go and do a Google search on the individual DOD agencies like the Navy, and they have the history of the awards, and you could go and do a dive there to see if they're past awards. Any other examples or?
Thank you, Sonia. This is very helpful.
Questions. Yeah, and if you start doing some of these and you have questions, send me an email. And I couldn't find it, or how do you have ideas of how to search something like this?
Sonia,
yes.
I have a question. Say after you pick a topic, do you recommend to email the topic manager of your preliminary LOI to see if that is responsive?
You could include your draft LOI to the program manager. I don't know if they would say we're not allowed to comment on the LOI. It's quite possible, because then they would say, oh, we're encouraging, because the the DOE will not tell you if your LOI is accepted. You will only hear from them if it wasn't accepted, which is not good,
But it doesn't hurt to email to them your preliminary LOI.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. They might say something like, yes, there's a fit, or I can't comment on it. And that's why it's so important, to have that telephone conversation with them, because then they don't have to put anything really in writing.
Oh, okay, I understand.
But experiment, you could always just summarize what your LOI says.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And see, or usually what they do is when you have questions, technical questions about their topics that weren't addressed in the webinar, but having listened to it, they didn't address there wasn't any real technical discussion on these things.
Yeah, they just went through those things really quick and didn't go into any details. So yeah.
No, they basically did like a bullet summary, like I did.
Yeah.
So that's why I encourage you to do your homework, right, before you call them, and have really specific technical questions so that you can decide if there's a fit or no fit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I had the thing here. Let's see. I'm curious on so this one was the community engagement. Yeah, so there's a lot of information on this this topic. So they seek and encourage the participation of persons from underserved communities and underrepresented groups. And then here's the definition. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, so if you have an idea, just follow up with us and see if we can review it for you.